What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the MMA Killshot podcast. Geek, Big Marley. We're looking at UFC Fight Night Font versus Vera. Full card breakdown. Let's get into it. All right, we're back taking a look at the Font versus Marlon Vera UFC Fight Night 53 card. To help us break this bad boy down, we've got the bad boy of MMA, not to be confused with the bad boy of karate from Karate Kid 3. His name escapes me right now. The blonde, spiky-haired kid.
I know, yeah, I can almost picture it, but I wouldn't know, man. It's been a while.
You like that? The bad boy of karate. Like, it came to you right away as soon as I said it. You're like, I remember that fucker. I remember him. Not to be confused, we got Big Marley here.
I'll take the bad boy of MMA. It's all right.
All right. Hey, listen, the bad boy of MMA. And Big Marl, I've got a slight idea for a little twist. So what we're doing on this show, on the Kill Shot, we're going to break down every fight on the card from a DraftKings fantasy perspective. We're going to give some betting angles. And then at the end, we give you our Kill Shot. That is sort of an, let's call it a low-owned, sort of unlikely surprise event that hopefully can help you crush tournaments on DraftKings and FanDuel and Super Draft or wherever you like to play this week. But I'm going to switch it up, Big Marley, and I got a format change for you, throwing this at you. We've always started at the bottom of the card and worked our way to the top. I think we switch it up. Let's start at the top of the card and work our way down. How's that sound?
That works for me, man. Sounds good.
I don't want to get you all twisted mentally.
It's all good. It's kind of like eating your food, like mixing it up. You know, it's all going in the same place, so might as well knock it out whatever order you want.
We're going to start at the top of the card, work our way back. Now, next week, Big Marl, I want to talk about next week, but we got a pretty good card coming up next week. This one, maybe not the best card that UFC has ever put out based on who's on the card. But money is money. We bet on the fights. We make money in DraftKings. I love watching fights. I love watching the violence. So I don't care. I'll be there for this. Even if the co-main event, the people's main event, features, you know, some questionable talent. Pretty bottom of the barrel stuff here, Big Marl.
Yeah, it's really the main event that I really care to see, but it's a must-see fight for me. I can't wait for it. It should be a fun, high-paced fight between two guys who are possible title contenders. And I'm perfect on the year so far in 2022 on main event fights. But this one I'm worried about.
This is a tricky one.
Yeah.
If you feel confident, if you feel very confident in either side of this main event, we're going to break it down and let's get it right in. But if you're really confident, you're probably overconfident. Like, there's no way that you could possibly really know with a degree of certainty what's going to happen in this main event, because we've got Robbie Font, a minus 135 favorite, taking on Marlon Vera, coming in at plus 115. And Big Marley, I mean, the fight goes to decision, is minus 150. This does. We don't really have finishers here, especially Font. Font is a boxer. He can get a finish, but it's usually volume-based. He does not seem to have that one-punch knockout power at all. And Vera is one of these guys that's been an enigma, bit wrapped in a mystery in the UFC so far. So break it down for me. How do you see this main event going down? And do you have a confident side to pick?
No, definitely not confident, no, but we do have a finisher in Vera. 15 of his 18 wins are by finish, and he can finish anywhere. I'd give him the grappling edge in this one. If there's a submission, it's very likely coming from him. I would say, a TKO could be either side, but you're right. It'd be more so volume-wise on the Font side, where Vera just decides to turn up at some point in the fight, and he just starts a little dangerous. It's usually when guys start to slow down, which I don't really see Font doing. But he did come in. He missed weight today over by like 3 pounds or something like that. So it does make you question, how he's going to look in a 5-round fight. Vera has never been in a 5-round fight, but he looks better in the 3rd round than he does in the 1st round. So I would just imagine that 5-round fights are going to help somebody like Vera. So that's really what's throwing me off here. If this was a 3-round fight, I'd feel somewhat confident in my Font pick. But I'm sticking with Font. I think he could still win at least 3 of the 5 rounds just by being the higher volume guy on the feet, where I think this fight mainly takes place. I don't think either guy lands many takedowns at all. I would think that's more likely going to be Vera because he's more dangerous on the ground. But I just expect a 5-round war here where these guys just go at it. For DraftKings, whoever you like more, just lean with them a little bit, but take both sides in this one, stack it in cash games. I'd rather stack it in a GPP rather than fade it, to be honest with you. I could see 150 points totaling up from this fight. So I love this fight. I'll be all in on it. I'm going to pick Font to win 3 of the rounds, but if I really need $400 on DraftKings to get up to someone I like more, I'll move down to Vera, and I'm cool with that in single entry too. So it's a Font for me, but not by that much of an edge. And if the DS wants to give me a little bit more Vera than Font, then I'm cool with that as well.
Yeah, I don't know how much of an issue salaries are going to be on this card. There's a lot of really close fights. So it really comes down to, who's better. And I think you kind of nailed it. Font is going to be the better technical striker. He's a better technical striker than Marlon Vera. He just is. He's going to land more strikes. His striking defense is better than Vera's. His volume is better than Vera's. All of that's great. He's going to be looking good until he's not. And that's really what it comes down to. You're going to have 5 rounds of these two guys throwing fist. And the reason it's unpredictable is because even if somebody's a slightly better striker, so what? You're right. Vera has some submission in his game, although I think Font's wrestling takedown game is actually underrated, and it's not bad. I actually don't think Vera will be able to submit him or do anything like that. Like, I don't see it. I actually think Font could get a takedown also in this fight, or maybe 2. Could happen. But in the end of the day, you're right. Vera is this weird fighter that just gets better as the fight goes on. He gets stronger. In the past, he's gotten better in his fights, and he's won late. That's why he's got those finishes. But a lot of them are like 3rd round finishes. They come later, unless it was against Sean O'Malley. Do we count that?
Yeah, I mean, DraftKings counted it.
I get the DraftKings, but do we count it?
I mean, I don't know. No, not really. I mean, I don't know. I would like to have seen how that fight would play out, but I don't think you can rely on a kick to just end somebody in any other fight moving forward for Vera. So, nah, not really.
That's where I'm at with that one.
Like, if, head, of course.
If Vera had really, truly beaten Sean O'Malley, I think Sean O'Malley and Rob Font is a really good fight. Right? Like, I don't know who would win that.
I'd be cool watching Sean O'Malley fight either one of these guys. I still want to see him versus Vera.
Yeah.
And Vera, I think Vera looks better now than he did going into that fight. So I think it would be closer than I thought it would going into it. But I'd still probably pick O'Malley. I don't know.
Yeah, it's close. And this is what this I think Vera's live to land a big strike. I've seen Robbie Font fucking rocked by Aldo multiple times in a fight where he was winning the fight outside of those big strikes that rocked Font, and it got the win for Jose Aldo. The path for Vera is the same, although I think Aldo's a better fighter than Vera. I think Font is probably going to win this fight, but am I confident enough even to bet it at minus 135? No. If I was going to bet Font, by the way, it's by decision. I don't see him finishing Vera. He's not a finisher.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I almost thought about betting Font by points, but it's only like plus 150 or so. So I don't really like it that much.
Make it worth it. Yeah, then it's not worth doing because he'll sneak in a sub at some point if you bet that prop. That's just how it goes. If they don't pay you enough to do a prop, don't do the fucking prop.
Yeah, I mean that's 40%. Like, man, just lining him 40% in the fight is. It wouldn't shock me to have seen Vera as a favorite in a 5-round fight. I don't know. I just think it's real close. And usually I do lean with the underdog in those scenarios. But I don't know. I want to see it first with Vera, I guess. I don't know. In 5 rounds.
I would say if you're going to bet this fight, the best way to do it, because Vera is such a slow starter, like Vera losing first rounds to every opponent almost that he's ever faced outside of Sean O'Malley. Since he's such a slow starter, the move would be probably after the first round. If Font wins that first round, the live line is going to be, you'll probably get like plus 280 on Vera after round 1.
Even if he loses the second round too, it wouldn't shock me to see him win 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, you could be at plus 500 or 600 at that point.
Yeah,
That's
give
when
me
you
a
can
line
take
like that, and
advantage.
I'm interested. Yeah.
Yeah, let's take advantage of that, and let's avoid the early stupid bet. Why bet with lacking information? You're almost better to wait a little bit. All right. I like it. Co-main event is really bizarre, Big Marley. Andre Arlovski taking on Jake the Snake Collier. With Arlovski coming in as a minus 130 favorite. The comeback on Collier, plus 110. It's a really close fight. I can't wait to put the pictures of the two fighters on screen. So if you don't know, you can get a look at what Jake Collier looks like. If you don't know, he looks like your buddy that you go to the bar with to watch football games on Sunday, who, you know, is a little out of shape, and you're like, dude, you got to get your shit together. But that's the athlete. Jake Collier. Guy used to fight at
the prototype.
The prototype of. Listen, here's the thing. I have a hot take. You know, basically Arlovski represents, are you even worthy of being in the UFC? If you are, you should be able to beat him. And at a heavyweight, it doesn't take much to be worthy of being in the UFC. Big Marley, if you put on a couple of pounds, I feel like you'd be worthy of heavyweight status in the UFC. 17-inch guns already there.
I mean, I think I'm like right above that limit. I'm probably like 209 or something right now. So that's technically heavyweight. So I'm there.
No, but you need to be You need to be
I've faced off with Arlovski before, and it's terrifying. He's way bigger than me.
Yeah. You need to be cutting down to 265, bro.
I need to cut down to like 170 or something.
Yeah, no, it ain't gonna happen. But Jake Collier is just like a dude who just got big, and I have a take on him, which is the first fight we saw, he just looked like a fat ass who'd been sitting on his couch for 3 years during pandemic, right?
And he looked like it in the fight.
And he looked like it. But now he's a professional UFC fighter fighting every 3 to 4 months. I'm sure the guy is in full-time training at this point. I mean, he's fought multiple times in the past 12 months. He fought Chase Sherman in January of this year. 6 months before that, he fought Carlos Felipe, split decision loss, probably won that fight. 6 months. So this is a guy who's fighting every 6 months. Is that enough? Like, how much is he making on these fights? Is he getting enough money that he's doing this full time?
Shit, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's doing it full time if you're fighting that much anyways. But
it's fighting a lot.
You would also think if you're fighting that much, you're training so much that you're going to be losing the weight as you go. And
well, not necessarily, maybe turning it into, I think he's better. He maybe figured out, like, I ain't winning shit at 170, but heavyweight.
I remember him looking good at whatever he was back in the day. So I don't know. I don't know what happened with it, but I'm still not buying him as a real heavyweight. And that's why I'm going to lean with Arlovski in this one. I just think Arlovski is a real heavyweight. He's an experienced heavyweight. He's a good striker. He's hard to take down. He might even be the better wrestler of the two, but I think we're going to have a striking match here where on average Collier is the one that's throwing more strikes. But I don't know that you're going to keep up that same output when you're fighting Arlovski. Arlovski kind of just finds his way to making people fight his fight. And it just seems like a split decision type fight that goes Arlovski's way. So that's the one I picked. But for DraftKings, I'm going to make it real easy for myself. And I'm going to X both of these guys out of my player pool, even with 150 lineups. Because if this does go to a decision, I really don't even care because I don't think either one of them will hit 10X or even more to make the optimal lineup. But I'm just going to avoid it and hope that Arlovski gets it done because he can score, 60 points in a win or something like that. And that's not going to help us at all. So just easy fade for me on DraftKings, but Arlovski's going to be the pick. I think he can get 2 of the 3 rounds.
All right. My take's a little different. I do agree that we could see a split decision, but I think it could go to Collier here, and I will call him Collier.
Yeah, and he would be my preferred play. If I was going to use this fight, it would be him.
I mean, the guy's landing. He lands with good volume. These numbers are actually skewed lower because of his earlier career. Ever since he's made his heavyweight return, he just throws. And I love that he got the takedown in his last fight. Those are good signs. He had takedowns early in his career. What if he still maintains that skill? I actually think Collier is like a decently skilled. Yeah, he got the takedown against Sherman, got the finish. So, but look at the strike numbers. It's 130 in 3 rounds, 123. His fights since he's come back have been great with volume, and Arlovski just doesn't have the volume to keep up. So, it's almost impossible. Not impossible, but it's just highly unlikely for me to assume that Arlovski is going to be able to keep up if Collier uses this new sort of high volume approach that he uses. I think he could get it. I don't see Arlovski going for a takedown. But
I mean, even with Jake Collier when he fought Carlos Felipe, like he was the higher volume guy in that fight. And like on numbers, I kind of thought he maybe would get the win, but he just looked so bad out there that the judges were like, he lost that round. He's huffing and puffing out there. He lost.
But that I agree with you. But you give me underdog odds, but I totally agree with what you're saying. But I kind of thought Jake won that fight.
Yeah, I think I had a bet or something on Jake, so I was biased. But I was thinking he got 2 rounds.
Hang on, let's take a look at the stats. Yeah, I mean, he landed 130 to 94. Here, put it up on the screen. But in that fight, Collier landed 130 strikes. Clearly, the defense is not very good because he took 134 significant strikes as well. But legitimate, he probably won that fight.
It was close. It's just his body language was so bad. And that's not a good thing when you're fighting Arlovski. Arlovski will take advantage of that, I think.
No question. So it's a close fight. I totally agree with just you could pretty close to full fade Arlovski. I always fade him. He only had one time where he made me pay for fading him. Like I remember in the last few years, that one fight against I think Rothwell where he turned up the volume, and I'm not even sure he was in the nuts in that one. So
yeah, full fade.
Very fadeable. All right. Next up, we've got a fight between Andre Philly and Joe Anderson Burrito. Philly's coming in as a minus 260 favorite, and the comeback on Joe Anderson is plus 210. Fight goes to decision, minus 150. So higher than not odds of this fight going to decision. Stylistically, Big Marley, how do you see these two fighters?
Really, I think Feely has the edge everywhere aside from maybe just power. But Feely's just real well-rounded. He can fight anywhere. Good striker, good movement, good strength, good everything really. Good wrestling, good grappling. Just nothing great with Feely. And then Burrito, he's kind of like a Davis and Figuerado, where he's throwing some big power on the feet. He can land some takedowns as well, but he's not grappling like Davis and Figuerado. It just kind of looks more like him on the feet, like a poor man's Figuerado. Who I'd said in the last time we saw him, he looks more like Figueredo's brother than Figueredo's brother actually does. And Figueredo's brother's on this card. But yeah, I just think it's for Burrito to win the fight. It's probably going to be a knockout would be his best shot. But I do think he could have success landing a couple takedowns along the way, maybe keeping some top control. I just don't think that that's going to be enough to be winning the rounds, because I think Feely can do that exact same thing. And I think Feely's the minute winner on the feet. I think Feely's more likely to get back up than he is just accepting on the bottom against Burrito. So it's really the knockout shot that I'd be paying for with Burrito, but he's a powerful dude. So I am interested a little bit. And then with Feely, he's just 9,300. It's hard to get up to him when I like Romanov so much more. So I won't get too much Feely, but at the same time, I do think he could finish this fight in any round and score well. So I want some, but I was thinking maybe I'd be up to 20% on both of them, like 10, 15% Burrito, 15, 20% Feely, something like that. But overall, I'm really not targeting this fight, especially with my hand builds. I'm not making it a priority to target this fight, but give me Feely to win all 3 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Philly does a little bit of everything, and his fights are against guys who are good. So, Philly definitely has the pedigree. Does he lose to guys who are good? Yes. But that's what his losses are. They're to guys who are good. Bryson Mitchell, listen, Philly's actually a good wrestler, but Mitchell is really good at that. He beats Jourdain. That looks good in hindsight. Saduk Yusuf, tough opponent.
And,
Doesn't
he
look that
looked
good.
best he's ever looked in his last fight too against Daniel Pineda. It just got called from like cut or something with the eye, poked in the eye, something like that. But he looked amazing in that fight too. So maybe he's reaching his prime right now.
To me, Burrito is this is a big step up for him. I expect Philly to win this fight. The question is, Burrito is live. You got to keep him in there. He throws hard punches, and Andre Philly is not like a fighter who you can rely on ever. He just brain farts and loses fights. That's happened. We watched him lose enough times. We know he's pretty good at it when he needs to be. And with Burrito, it's just a massive step up. I think Philly would beat Bill Algeo also. And Algeo pretty much dominated that fight. Like, Burrito had his moments, but Algeo had it in control. There was never a point where you're like, oh no, if your money was on Algeo in that fight. Oh
yeah, I think my money was on Burrito, and I knew I was fucking dead.
Yeah, there was never money. You did have a moment where you're like, wait, what? No, you're like, oh shit, and the oh shit never went away. The live line just kept getting worse as that fight. There was not a moment where it was like, ooh, I can get out. Nope. So I just think this is, even a tougher opponent than the last one he just lost to. And I'm a big practitioner of MMA math, a big practitioner of it, strong believer in MMA math. And the math tells me Philly should get this win. But of course, he's standing across from a man who throws hard punches, and anybody can get slept, which is why you need a little bit of Burrito to bounce you out. But yeah, not to spoiler alert it, but I think you could actually afford Romanov and Philly in the same lineup, but Philly doesn't have some history of scoring well.
He's got a couple fights mixed in where he scores well, but I just think he mostly makes sense as a pivot away from Romanov, really, unless he is on the optimal with him, I guess.
No, there is no pivot off of Romanov. There's no pivot this card.
I mean, there was last week. There was every pivot off of Romanov would have won you all the money. Who knows that doesn't happen again?
Well, there was a difference, right? Last week, there were 4 fights that we were all like, oh, this shit's going to score massive in a win. This week, there's none of that.
Right.
Who you pivoting to?
Which helped us because we weren't all in on Romanov because of that.
Yes.
But this week, he's an even better play. But if Sherman can't make it out, then we're all fucked, So, and I don't know what the issue was, but I've been to fights before, like regional scene fights, where if your heart rate's like over a certain level, you're not going out there. And that could have been what it was. Like this guy's just freaking out that he's got to go out there and face somebody who's minus 2,200 on the betting line. And maybe his heart just doesn't want that shit. So maybe we're stuck with 0 points from Romanov again. Like that's the worry here. So I think there are pivots away.
That outcome, I'm going to give that outcome a sub 1% chance of happening.
Well, we're at 100% so far.
Yeah, I know, but I'm giving it a sub 1% for this one.
Not.
Last week, listen,
I'm worried about it.
There's a series of things.
Don't want that smoke.
There's a series of things that can happen for any fight. We've talked about it. As a matter of fact, we saw 2 of them last week because fucking Jackson wins a fight, on getting his ass kicked on a DQ. You can get DQ'd early, and the knee when you're down, the kick to the head to a down opponent. You can DQ, you eye poke, accidental. There an ACL tear. We've seen fighters fight through that, but like there are injuries happen. I don't know what the odds are. If we mix them all in a pot and said, hey, here's like the weird shit that could go down in a fight with a minus 2,400 fighter, and one of them is his opponent like has a mental breakdown before he walks out to the ring. Like I'll throw all that in the mix of like 3% chance.
I mean, that wasn't even on my list before last week. I mean, maybe if it was a Tom Breeze fight, but I still don't know why that fight didn't happen. And since it's happening this week, just 1 week later, it makes me think it was something along those lines. Yeah. And nothing has changed about this that would make me think he wouldn't be freaking out again, being the biggest underdog that the UFC has ever seen. So I'm keeping it in the back of my mind, and I am not going to be all in on Romanov, even though he's the best play on paper.
I will be all in.
So I like that Philly pivot.
I don't care. I'm going all in.
Not me.
I like a lot of the underdogs. I just think as long as the fight plays out, I think we all agree that as long as the fight plays out, Romanov is going to smash Sherman.
We'll get to that fight, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. All right. So anyway, why are we talking about that fight? We have another really good one. Maybe the best fight on the card, Big Marley. That's right. I said it. One of the ones I'm really looking forward to. Jared Gordon taking on Grant Dawson. I love this fight. I like both of these guys. Gordon is the underdog at plus 155 with the favorite Grant Dawson coming in at minus 180. Fight goes to decision, a strong and unfortunate minus 190. Now, Big Marley, I love this fight, but you know the odds makers, they kind of think a decision is coming here. So tell me how you see this going down, and can it score enough to be a featured fight for us in our fantasy lineups?
Yeah, I think it's the second best fight on the card, second highest pace fight on the card. So I am cool with it. Even in a decision, I think they could both score well. But the way I see it is that Dawson has the wrestling grappling edge, especially early, the first 2 rounds of this fight. And then the third round, maybe that wrestling edge slips over to Gordon. I don't think he submits Dawson, but I could see him doing a lot of work in top control, landing a lot of strikes down there. And then I think Gordon's a better striker in every round. So the line talked me into this one. I would slightly favor Gordon to win. If we're just picking winners, I didn't see any kind of betting line. I'd probably pick Dawson in this one. But at like minus 180, I think the value's out the window. So I went with Gordon as my pick to win a split decision, which is like plus 1,200 if you're looking to bet that. And I think even in a split decision, I mean, he's probably scoring more than 7,500 or 75 points on DraftKings. So I like the 10X from either one of these guys. Gordon has, I believe, 4 fights where he scored over 100 points on DraftKings. He's got a 95 in there also. And then on the other hand, Dawson, he's 8,700. All of his wins would be more than 10X that $8,700 price. He's never scored less than 89 points on DraftKings. And I think he could get a finish in round 1, finish in round 2. Or if he can go out there and win round 3 also, he could put up a big score in a decision. So I want to be not all in on this fight, but it's going to be in the majority of my lineups, I would think. And Gordon's going to probably be one of my top underdogs on the card because he is an underdog. I'm picking to win. I think there's only one other, maybe 2 other. No, I think there's only one other on the card that I'm picking to win.
Interesting.
A lot of favorites for me this week, so I'll be heavy on Gordon, and I like him in all formats.
I like a lot of these underdogs, but a lot of these underdogs, and this is one of them. I think there's probably 9 fights on this card where the underdog is very, very live. Maybe 10. Yeah. Could be every fight, except for the Romanov one. But yeah, I mean, I like Gordon. He's a volume guy. He has good cardio. He throws a lot. Like, there's a lot of things to like about Gordon. And the flip side with Dawson is we know what you're going to get. His striking is not good. He's a relentless grappler. He could be DraftKings gold. Gordon does not have good takedown defense. He's not really an aggressive defender of takedowns at all. He's at 50%. Dawson's at 40%. Both of these guys can be taken down, Big Marley. Both of these guys almost don't mind being taken down. They both want to grapple. And what I love about Gordon
should mind. Gordon is not good off his back. Like that's
no,
kind of been a weakness for him.
His
last fight, he should have lost really, but because he was getting taken down a lot by Selecki, and Selecki's a good grappler as well. But he's just not able to really do anything on the bottom against these kind of guys. So he's much better in top control, where I think Dawson would be okay being taken down.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, Gordon is very comfortable grappling. He should be going for the takedowns for sure, but he scrambles back up too. Selecki, very good grappler. But I think what you said, this one comes out. Dawson should be the better offensive wrestler and the more aggressive one. I expect him to be the first guy looking for the takedown and Gordon to provide it. So to me, the way the fight goes, Dawson comes on strong. He looks great in the first round and a half. Does he slow down? Does he get tired? Because Dawson's striking is dog shit. It's really bad. Whereas Gordon, it's a plus for him. Dawson, it's a minus. We've seen these with a lot of different wrestler types. They get to a certain level where if they can't dominate with the wrestling, or if they can't dominate and get the submission early and they start to get tired and can't get the takedowns late, you could just style on them. So that risk is there. That's where that split decision comes from. I love the call because it could be like somewhere mid through round 2 where Dawson all of a sudden, like, he gets that takedown. Gordon gets back up and now Dawson got the hand on the hips. And you're like, oh, wait a second. Tired. Uh-oh. Dawson gets it. Gordon gets the takedown now on a tired Dawson. Now Gordon's in his top position doing his little love taps thing. Gordon never stops. You got the love taps. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Those
5,
count.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You're counting them in your head. You're like 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. Like, holy shit, he threw 28 love taps in a minute. Count them. He scores well when that happens. So again, this is a crazy fight. Could go either way. I'm picking Dawson because I think he's a better offensive wrestler. He'll get the early takedowns, but it really just comes down to like the second round. I think Gordon will probably be the fresher guy in the third round. I've never seen him tired. He's a cardio lunatic.
Yeah, and like Dawson really gassed in his last fight, got 10-8'd in the third to make it a draw, and then he's like, all right, I'm switching gyms. It was the gym's fault, not mine. I'm going to show you guys that wasn't me. Like, I'm just going to go and blame the gym for you gassing out. I don't know. So I don't know how much I want to buy that, but I'm looking forward to it. Should be a fun fight.
I also want to mention, listen, Ricky Glenn is nasty. He's a good fighter. He's not bad. We all underrate Ricky Glenn. He's better. He's underrated. So I'm not like taking that loss that strong against him. All right. Next up, we've got another fight, Big Marl, that might come down to gas tanks. This, if ever a fight felt like starts one way and then shifts to the other way, bet it live. Elkins against Connolly, with Elkins coming in as a minus 180 favorite. Comeback on Tristan Connolly Connolly plus 155. And yeah, fight goes to decision, a solid minus 175. So another fight that Vegas does not necessarily favor going to decision. Now, how do you see this one going down, Big Marl?
I think it probably takes place on the ground for quite a bit of it, but I just think Elkins is slightly better everywhere than Connolly. Aside from like durability, I don't trust Elkins' durability at all at this point. He's 37 years old, taking more damage than like anybody really. So I just worry about Elkins in general. I'm not looking to lay minus 180 on him really against any UFC fighter, but I do think he should be favored here. I think he probably does enough to win at least 2 of the rounds. He could get a submission, but if he wins, it's probably going to have a lot of takedowns and control time along the way. He has a good chance at scoring well. So I'm cool with Elkins. And then on the other side, Connolly, he's like the same thing. If he can get the takedowns, I think he can have success in top as well. Maybe like he's not a knockout puncher, but you might not need to be a knockout puncher to knock out Elkins now. So I think he's in play for the knockout as well. I'm cool with either side of this fight. It's going to be one that I let the domination station control for me. And then with my hand builds, like I'm not opposed to using either one of them. It would just be more my 6th spot in the lineup, probably based on who I can fit type deal. But I'm going to pick Elkins to win a decision.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned a decision because, you know, that's how I expect this one to go down. Basically, Elkins is going to be a better fighter when he has his wits about him, when he has higher volume. He's the superior grappler. My prime concern with Elkins, like you said, number one, he's taking a lot of damage. But Tristan Connolly, he don't dish out any damage. This guy barely throws any strikes, and they're not hard. He actually tends to win by grappling, tiring out his opponents, and then grappling them, which is something that I'd say Elkins is susceptible to. He could be, you know, tired out. He's old. He's kind of, you know, he's worn. It's like
he's too tough to like gas out though. I mean, he might tire down and slow down, but he's just too damn tough for his own good.
Yeah. And Connolly's not that tough. I think this is the worst opponent that Darren Elkins maybe has ever faced or at least has faced in the last 10 years. And Elkins has wins. So like Connolly, to me, he's got one path to the win. It's just because he's gritty and he seems to have good cardio, or he seems to outlast opponents. And he might outlast Elkins here, but for the most part, I think he'll be less good of a striker and a grappler. And I think Elkins comes out and dealing with Tristan Connolly and his nothing special. Actually, his takedown defense has been decent, but I think Elkins will be able to get takedowns and at least control the fight for periods of time in those first 2 rounds. We'll see how it goes from there, but I see him eking out a decision win here. Not sure it's going to score really well. Don't need a ton of this fight at all. Neither side looks like, even if Connolly's winning, it's because he came back late, and that's not going to score well either.
Or he just tests a damaged chin and knocks him out in the first round.
Or that. But like, who the hell has this guy ever knocked out in his career? He just doesn't have knockouts. It could happen, but it's not what like. Oh, wait, let's check the odds for that.
I mean, I just feel like eventually, like a strong gust of wind's going to start knocking out Elkins.
It could be, and it's dangerous to fade anybody fighting against an old man. Let's see, Connolly inside the distance, plus 425. So I don't know, 15%.
Yeah, that's probably all I'd want. 15%.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Gerald Meershart, GM3, taking on Christoph Jotco. Jotco is a minus 160 slight favorite with the comeback on Meershart at plus 140 slight underdog. Fight doesn't go to decision. Slightly favored at minus 135, Big Marley. Now, I know this is one of your underdog picks because I looked at your stuff. Tell me about it. You think that Meershart will be successful at getting this one to the ground? Because standing, you would think that Jotco has the edge.
So no, I don't feel good about it, but I'm picking Meershart because he's been good to me as an underdog in the past. I think this is a close fight. If it goes to a decision, I expect Jotco to win because he's 16-2 in decisions compared to 2-3 for Meershart. But of Meershart's 34 wins, 32 of them have come inside the distance. So I just think the ceiling is on the Meershart side, and I think those stats lead up to a great bet, which is on DraftKings. It's called Moneyline -finish only, which means it's only graded if there's a finish. And right now, Meershart's the underdog in that. I think he should be the favorite in that bet. If it goes to a decision, it's a push. It doesn't matter who wins.
Wow, I like it.
Yes, and then on FanDuel, I think it's called decision no bet. So I like Meershart there. I would favor him like at least 60%. I feel like in that sort of bet. So anything up to minus 150, I'd be cool with. But last I looked, he's plus 100. I think there's still some good value there. But I don't feel good about him getting the finish. I think Jotco's going to be tough. I don't know that he can consistently get Jotco down. And if he can get him down, I don't know that he could submit him. But I also think, for DraftKings, even if this fight does play out on the feet more than I would like, Jotco's so low volume that Meershart can just keep it close that way as well. I mean, he's a big, strong dude. Maybe he can land something heavy, knock him out. But I think it would come from a submission if he's going to win this fight inside the distance. So that's just what I picked to happen because he's been good to me. He's the underdog. But Jotco's just a full fade at 8,800. He's maybe outscored that once or twice in his whole career. He's just such a low volume guy. And if he's not getting a knockout, he's just not going to be on that optimal lineup. So you're really wanting the knockout if you're targeting him, but he'll be low owned. So I don't hate it, I guess, for that, but I'm going to full fade him. And I like Meershart in all formats. So I'll be hoping for the submission. Yeah. And that way I can cash in on DraftKings and cash in on that bet.
I totally agree with what you just said. Christoph Jotco is kind of like the Caitlin Chikugian of his division. He doesn't throw with a lot of volume. He figures out how to get these slow striking based decision wins. No knockout power. It's very technical. He's good defensively, and he should have enough to win a decision against Meershart. But you're right. I love the bet you picked out because if that decision win, which is the most likely outcome of this fight in general, happens, it's a push. So it gives you exposure to Meershart's submission upside, which is his upside exclusively, without risking that he loses the decision. So I love the bet that you gave out, and I will be tailing it. I love it. As far as the way the fight goes down, yeah, Jotco probably wins, and Jotco could be ignored on DraftKings. That's not a guy you want. So he could pretty much be ignored. And Meershart, slight ownership in case that crazy submission finish happens early. The problem is I've seen Meershart win by submission in the third round and still only score 60 plus, just over 60 fantasy points, because he doesn't do shit until that point. So, and this ain't no Duran win where Meershart just by pure size is going to be able to outstrike his opponent. Jotco is a definite better striker and will look better on the feet. So I expect Jotco to win a decision, probably land 80 strikes, maybe 85 strikes along the way, to like Meershart landing 49 strikes and a couple of unsuccessful takedown attempts. That's what my most obvious path for this is. In that scenario, you could avoid it. And I love the bet that you put out. So I would definitely tail that as well. All right, next one. This fight I really like. I have a strong opinion here, but I'm curious to hear yours first. Daniel Da Silva taking on Francisco Figueiredo, aka Lil Fig, Lil Fig, Lil, Lil Fig. Lil Fig is coming in as a slight plus 100 underdog with Daniel Da Silva as a minus 120. Very minuscule favorite, which is weird for me. I don't know why, but Marley, what the hell's going on? Why is Daniel Da Silva favored here? What's so special about him that makes him favored over a Figueiredo brother?
Well, it's not really about him. It's about what Figueiredo does not do, and that's everything. So it's really a fade on him. I don't know that we're going to see Figueiredo be a favorite over anybody now that Jerome Rivera is out of the UFC. Malcolm Gordon was the other one that I was thinking he could be a favorite against, but he just got smoked by that guy too. So Figueiredo's pretty bad. And Da Silva, he's the one that is going to bring the fight. If there's anyone, looking to be an aggressor or a bully in this fight, it's going to be Daniel Da Silva. He's going to be much more dangerous early in this fight, but he's never even been to the third round. So I do worry if this fight goes into deep waters, how he looks, and maybe Figueiredo starts to take over then. I think the path to victory for Figueiredo is just to slow the fight down, get this guy against the cage, get control time there, fish for a takedown, keep control time when you get a takedown. The submission would be his ceiling in this fight. So I think a takedown, work your way to a submission, finish this guy. That's how Figueiredo would be on the optimal, but I'm not going to be getting much, if any, Figueiredo myself. I'm more interested in the Silva side. I think he is dangerous everywhere early in the fight, and I think maybe it'll be just a little bit too much for Figueiredo, but it is purely a fade on this Figueiredo guy, man. If you're losing around to Jerome Rivera, you're getting beat by Malcolm Gordon, like you're dead to me. So go Daniel Da Silva.
And the reality is these guys both suck, and Da Silva is not good either. It's not.
I'm not sure, though. He looked good until the Molina fight, but Molina would run through Figueiredo too. Molina's just real good. So I think we'll see how good he is in this fight. If he gets beat by Figueiredo, yeah, he sucks.
Yeah, and we'll find out. Like his wins, I get that he looked good, but it was against the 12-13 guy and the 4-3 guy. He doesn't have wins where you're like, oh, he beat somebody good. He loses to guys who are decent. He's not good either. And he's knocking out complete cans. So I don't think that I think this one go either way. I actually think Figueiredo is the more likely guy to be grappling here and probably the better grappler. So I love this fight. I think you can target it. I hate the fight, but I think it has potential because it's like two sloppy, kind of unknown fighters. I'm actually favoring Figueiredo to get it done because I think Da Silva might be the bigger fraud. But there's a lot of frauds going on in this. A lot of potential fraudulence happening here. Maybe some flatulence to go along with the fraudulence around this fight. You can make sense of that, Big Marley, as we move on to the next one, because I don't even know what the fuck I just said. somehow I worked flatulence into a fighter breakdown, which I thought was something really skilled on my part, but you know, you treat it for what it will.
Not everyone can do that.
I don't think everybody can do that. All right. Next up, Romanov, Sherman. Do we have to break it down? Listen, Big Marley. Romanov's fucking bad motherfucker. He's taking on a guy in Sherman who got fast finished by Jake Collier. He was finished in the first round by Jake Collier. What? Romanov will finish Andrei Arlovski in the first round, in the first minute. What do we have to do?
If he goes to the ground, yeah.
I mean, like in a minute, it's over. So Romanov will absolutely destroy Chase Sherman standing on the ground. Again, there's 3 scenarios where Romanov doesn't win and doesn't score 100 plus, and it goes like Sherman just doesn't walk out because something happened. You know, number 2, he takes him down, but decides to knee him in the head like illegally, or pull some Damon Jackson bullshit, not Damon, but Mike Jackson, like bullshit, DQ win. Outside of that, this guy is winning. He's scoring 100 plus.
I disagree. Only if he fights on the ground. If he goes out there and has a striking match, he's not going to score 100 plus unless he knocks this guy out. He's just not a good striker. I don't even know that he would win a striking match. So I think minus 2,200 on a guy who might not even win a striking match is just insane to me. But he's the biggest favorite we've ever seen. He's like minus 650 inside the distance, minus 200 to win in round 1. Best DraftKings play on paper. The only issue is $9,600, which is really expensive. And this fight was supposed to happen last week, and the fight didn't happen. We all took zeros on our Romanov plays. And I think that is in play again. I don't think that was an absolute fluke. I think that it's a guy who knows he's going to get his ass kicked, and he didn't want to make the walk. And it would not shock me to see that happen again and him just weasel his way out of this fight and into another one for his UFC contract. But if it does take place, I expect Romanov to get a takedown early and just maul this guy, score 100 plus points. However, if you ever want to test your striking in the UFC, this is your last chance. And if you want to go out there and strike just for 1 round and then maul him in the second round, it's probably too late. We probably miss out on our optimal lineup. So I'm not going to be all in. I think I'm actually I think I have less Romanov than I have Jared Gordon at this point.
You're out of your fucking mind. Okay. let me just not do that. And here's the deal.
I don't have many lineups though.
All right. Listen, we got cute last week with fading Romanov. It worked out for a lot of guys. It didn't work out for a lot because you faded him for that other fucker who loses to the reporter, gets DQ'd. So like the fade didn't even work. Like 2 weird things happen. Do not fade this.
I'm not fading it just because I don't think he's going to come out or I am expecting a striking match. I just think that there's other fighters on this card who could possibly score more at lower ownership. So I just think for ownership purposes, I'm getting away. I still got 50%.
I don't see it. I will have every lineup will have Romanov in it. Every single lineup I make will have Romanov 100%.
Not me. Guaranteed.
The other way. Me. I hope that more people think the way that you do. Because if I can get him for sub 60% ownership, I'll be ecstatic.
Yeah, and that's what I said in my breakdown too, is I hope people are like that. So because he's a better play this week than he was last week. And I put him as a core play. But I only have like 10 lineups right now, and I think I'm 50% on him. And I have 2 dogs that I'm picking out right, so I just happen to be really high on my fucking Gordon play. Like I don't feel good about that at all. But I do feel good about my non-Romanov lineups at the same time. Like I think they can score well.
Listen, I'm sure you feel good, and uniqueness is super important in I'm just opening up the Dom station to see what the ownership projection is.
I put 69%.
69, 65. So, yeah, there you go. I hope it's lower than that.
Last week it was lower than I thought it would be.
But last week there was alternatives, though. We talked about it. There were alternatives. This week there's no alternative. Touchy Philly, he's not a scorer. Natan Levy, what the fuck is that guy going to do to score well?
But what are you and these other 70% of players going to do to differentiate yourselves. So mine's real easy. I just get off of Romanov. My whole lineup's different than all.
I hear you. I agree with you. I think I'm going to have a lot of underdogs because I think a lot of these underdogs are in play.
Yeah, true. That's the way you got to mix in the underdog. I just don't like that on this card.
This is one of those cards where we're getting to those fights where I can start screaming about like, who the fuck is this guy to be priced here? But before we get to that, we have another fight, which I think is one of the best ones on the card for DraftKings. I believe this one is right up there as one of the best ones for DraftKings purposes. I could be wrong. This could go a lot of different ways, but I think it's going this way, and that's Gabriel Green against Johan Lenice. Okay, Green is a slight -135 favorite. Lenice +115. And I have not even looked at the inside the distance prop yet. There you go. -250 doesn't go to decision. And I am not shocked because Big Marl, this one looks like it's going to finish inside the distance for one of these guys.
All right, which one are we on?
Lenice against Gabriel Green. -250 to finish inside the distance.
250. That seems high to me, actually. I did pick a finish in this one, but the way I see it is Green. I really just think Green's slightly better everywhere here. Just the better pace. Not power. I think first round power, you go to Lenice. Maybe first round wrestling as well. He can get in top, do some work with ground and pound as well. So I think Lenice is in play because the best of him should come in round one, and he could finish in round one as well and just break the slate. So I think Lenice is in play for that. But if he doesn't finish in round one, I just think after that round, the skill gap just gets clearer and clearer for Gabe Green, and I just think the volume will be too much for Lenice to deal with. I don't know that it finishes him, but I feel like it at least would win both second and the third round here. And I think he could win the first round as well. So I'm rolling with Gabe Green in this one. I don't know that he's going to pay off his salary if he doesn't finish this fight, but I think he can rack up the volume here. He's got good cardio. So finishing the second or the third round probably would score pretty well here. So I'm cool with both sides of this fight, but I don't know that it would even be in half of my total lineups, though. So I'm not sure about this one. It would be more I'll let the domination station take over type thing, but I'm picking Green to win. So I'm going to be higher on him.
Never go wrong letting Jesus take the wheel. It's always okay. I agree with you. I think Lenice, I think Green is the better skilled fighter everywhere. Has takedowns a little bit in his game. Has a little more volume of striking. Lenice, I don't know. He reminds me of Johnny Walker. He's got the flying knees. He's got the big bombs. He's got the long limbs. And he reminds me of one of these Michelle Pahea, Johnny Walker types that might not be the best of fighters, Big Marley. Might not be the most skilled guy you've ever seen in there, but he throws hard fist and throws big knees. And he could land. Gabriel Green seems like exactly the type of fighter. He's a little sloppy, throws with a lot of volume. Again, I think he's better than Lenice, but I just think he could also get caught. It's very much in play. That's why I think this line is so intense. And Lenice does not have experience fighting 3 rounds or a long time. He also seems like the kind of fighter that can gas. So I think you got to get both sides of this fight in your lineup. I think it's going to score well for the winner. I picked Green to win, but with no confidence. Lenice is one of my favorite underdog plays on the card. I just think if he wins, and again, he won't be looking great, but it's just going to take one punch. That's how his other fights went. He just throws big shots. And he's got a little bit of athleticism, like a little bit of jumps, long limbs. I know it sounds crazy, but like, what do you really need against a Gabe Green? Gabe Green gets hit a lot. I really like this fight. I think he should score well. I'm favoring Green, and I'm favoring Green to get a win where he even gets a couple takedowns, a little grappling, lots of volume. But I want both sides of it. I do. I think this is one of the better fights to target. How much of this fight, Big Marley, are you looking to get into your lineups as a fight?
Like if I'm picturing myself making 150 lineups, I would think like 20% green, 15% Lanise or something like
35%.
that.
Yeah, that's 35%. That's a good amount of lineups. You get a little exposure to it. I'd probably be a little bit higher than that on both sides. I just think this is one of those fights. And when you go through the rest, you'll see who the fuck else are you playing. So this is just they're mid-salary. The salaries are good. Allows you to afford some stuff. Got to get Romanov in your lineup. And I definitely think Johan is a live underdog. Speaking of live underdogs, next up, Natan Levy taking on Mike Breeden. Natan is coming in as a minus 195 favorite, with Breeden coming back at plus 165. And this one looks likely to go to decision at minus 150 odds. Marley, stylistically, this is a tough one to break down because there ain't much footage of either guy. A couple of newbies, kind of, to the UFC, kind of. Both guys coming off a loss. What can you tell me about these two?
Kind of looks like a striker versus grappler matchup to me. I'd give Breeden a slight edge on the feet here. I just think he's the better striker, more powerful striker, will be the one throwing more volume here. But Levy's the guy with the ground edge. I think he's going to be the stronger fighter, just the bigger, stronger, better wrestler, better grappler, and probably won't want to have a striking match with Breeden. So I like Levy in this fight, just thinking that he gets the fight to the ground early and often. I think he could rack up takedowns along the way, keep top control time if this fight goes to a decision, and I think he could score well that way. But I'm picking him to get a submission. I think that's what I picked anyway. So I like him for the upside. And just another guy who's either going to be like in my Romanov lineup or a pivot away from Romanov. So I'll probably be overweight on him. And then Breeden, since I'm picking him to lose, I don't really have much interest. I probably would make him more of a sixth lineup type guy if I'm putting him in hand builds. But another guy I'll let the DS just control my mixture on with 150 type lineups. All these underdogs I'm picking to lose, I don't want to be too high on them. That's why I'm so high on Gordon. But I'll just mix them all in. But give me Levy to get a submission. You're muted.
I'm a fan of Natan Levy, but my boy has done nothing to justify being a minus 200 favorite in a UFC fight. I mean, like, what has he done in his career to make you think like, oh yeah, he should be favored here? I get Mike Breeden. We have a lot of negative feelings towards him coming off the loss, the way he took the L in his UFC debut against Alex Hernandez. Alex Hernandez is good. Like, he's a pretty good fighter. That's the guy who beat Beneil Dariush. He's a good fighter. Alex Hernandez would probably starch Natan Levy exactly the same. I think these two guys are the same. I don't think there should be a favorite here. I think this is a 50-50 fight. If I had to bet it, it would be dog or pig. There's no way I'm putting my money on Natan Levy. And I like the guy. But, like, come on. He's not even fighting. He doesn't have a style that is proven to work in the UFC. Karate striker. A little grappling, but he's not a black belt BJJ.
I don't like his striking. And maybe he thinks he is a striker. I think that would be a bad idea. But to me, I just think it looks like a clear edge. And he looks like he looks like he knows he needs to get the fight to the ground. In his Contender Series fight, he was 2 for 2 on takedowns, had 8.5 minutes of control time, got a third round submission. And then he got 3 takedowns against Rafa Garcia, which is pretty good as well. So if you're fighting Mike Breeden, who is probably a better striker than both of those guys, and that's not saying much. Like, Breeden's nothing special, but he probably has the edge on the feet. You probably just don't want to spend too much time there to get the fight where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's really just the matchup that makes me like Levy, not anything about him.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. And if he's able to execute those takedowns, great. But I would just pose the question, what if he can't? What if he can't get the takedown? Then he's toast.
Yeah.
And a guy shouldn't be plus 170. Like, the path to the win for Breeden is not that difficult. It's stop the takedown against the guy who's not like an American wrestler. He's an Israeli like judo practitioner or whatever shit they do over there. Right? This is not like an Ohio kid who knows how to get double leg takedowns. He's, a fighter that's not from Ohio, that doesn't have a wrestling background at all. They can get takedowns, but like I can't count on it. So that's all I'm saying. For me, is there is a reasonable enough path for Breeden to stop the takedowns and dominate on the feet, even though like, oh, he seems like a scrub after he got his ass beat last time. Well, guess what? He was up against a real, prove yourself. I'm not saying anything bad. Prove yourself, Natan Levy. Prove it. But I'm not going to believe it until I see it with these new guys. And I feel the same way about the first fight. So we'll get to that one too. But it's like, I think the underdog is very live because his whole path to the win is just stop a takedown. Can he do that against the media? I don't know how good Natan Levy's takedowns are. He's fighting low-level guys. All right, he got a takedown. Big shit. Rafa Garcia was impressive. He looks better in hindsight after the win. Let's see him do it here. Let me see it, and then I'll believe it. For now, though, I think the underdog is live as well. And Natan Levy has not given me a reason to be like, oh, I got to fade Romanov for, his karate striking style. That's not going to land enough. 2.5 strikes per minute. He needs to get the takedown and the sub, and he's got to do it early. You're on mute. Say we're dueling mutes.
So yeah, let's say Romanov goes out there, gets a takedown on his first attempt, doesn't land a single strike on the ground, just submits him with a Kimura, 95-point win. Now all these other guys got to do that are cheaper and lower owned than him just outscore that 95 points. So
that path exists.
That's kind of what I'm more taking my shots on.
That path exists. I will agree with you there. But do I think Natan Levy has a path to scoring more than 95 fantasy points?
First round submission, that's late, and he throws 2 punches on the ground.
He got to do it quick. He's got to do it in the first 60
or
seconds.
Just do the exact same thing Romanov does. Yeah. Just be cheaper and less owned, and then boom, I'm on
That's fine, but it's very slim. It's slim.
Maybe.
But it's fine. And I might be able to get them both in a lineup.
Yeah, that's probably more so.
Yeah.
But if I'm fading Romanov, I probably got 2 people from like, what is it? Gordon, not Gordon. What's it? Gordon's guy, Dawson up to Feely. I probably got at least 2 of them in there. Like,
Feely's another one. Is he really scoring well? The guy rarely does well from a scoring perspective. He doesn't finish fights. He doesn't grapple that aggressively. He's gonna have a hard path getting to a hundy.
Yeah, I mean maybe, but he's scored a hundy in all but one of his wins, maybe all but 2 of his wins.
Wait, Philly?
We had a Romanov fight where he scored 67 in the decision, so it's not like he's a full-on lock to finish everyone in the first round. He's actually been out of the first round against 2 shitty opponents already.
Philly has definitely not scored 100 against most of his opponents.
No, I thought we were talking Dawson.
Oh, no, Dawson's different. Dawson, I lie.
Yeah.
No,
but for the Feely one, I think his an even easier to imagine. It's just he's fucking this guy up on the feet, gets a knockdown in the first round, 25 strikes, gets a first round knockout, highest scorer on the card. Like
it could be
stuff like that happen.
Yeah,
so
it's in the
ownership reason.
It's in the realm.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, I feel like you can get Romanov and a second. Well, we'll try to make one later, and we'll see if you could squeeze 2 of these guys in a lineup together. Let's see. Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe if that's the case, then
it does. I've got those too, but I'm just trying to think how to be different on this card when everyone wants Romanov.
Totally agree. All right, we're getting to the end here. Gina Mazzani taking on Shanna Young. Mazzani a -180 favorite, Young +155. And you know what, Big Marley? I got to tell you something. I'm just going to talk a little bit about this fight to start. But, for a lady in Mazzani who loses like a lot in the UFC, and I want to get her up on screen so I could just show you how frequently she loses. It's a lot of red, right? That's a lot of red. And her wins, man, Rachel Ostovich, who's really more of an Instagram model than a fighter. Yanan Wu, that was a pretty good win. I don't even know who Valerie Barney is. Is that UFC? No.
Nah.
All right, that's why I was like, who is that? This is not a gal who wins a lot, but Shanna Young is like the only person you could ever find that's worse. And Gina Mazzani has no striking, but Shanna Young. Now, I don't know if she's gotten better or something changed. That girl has no takedown defense. No takedown defense, Big Marley. None. Wait, let me put it on the screen. But like, isn't this fight simple? Isn't Gina Mazzani going to come out, get a takedown, lay on top of her, because that's what she wants to do. She don't want to strike. She don't like getting hit. She don't enjoy that feeling. Gina Mazzani, not like the punches. She don't like it. But Shanna Young is very content to get taken down and laid on top of 53% takedown defense. My girl, Gina Mazzani, 4.7 takedowns on average. Big Marley, what am I missing here? Because seems pretty cut and dry. Mazzani always loses. Gonna win here.
Yeah, another great play with Romanov or pivot away from Romanov right here is Mazzani. Not a good fighter. If this fight's stuck on the feet, she might not even have the edge, but it's going to just be a terrible striking match. Neither one of them would score well. I guess Young's path to victory, path to the optimal would be a TKO. Just somehow test Mazzani's weak chin, make her quit. You're on there, but I'm going to fade Young. Young's just no good here. And Mazzani's the play for me. She's going to test the biggest weakness in Young, which is her takedown defense. And that's the only spot Mazzani's any good. Get in top, do your thing there. She scored 138 DraftKings points against Ostovich, 118 DraftKings points against Yanan. She had 54 points in a second round loss last fight against Cachoeira. So like she has 100 plus high ceiling optimal that could possibly knock Romanov off at half the ownership. So I'm all over Mazzani. I like her in all formats. I definitely want to be overweight to her, and I'm fading Young.
I love that you came with that opinion, Big Marl, because I watched this and I was like, no one's gonna like Gina Mazzani. I hope that
she's
no
gonna
one
be pretty
does.
popular, but
You think she's gonna be popular? Oh,
it's just gonna be Romanov and then everyone else. Like there's gonna be like a big tier. All my people are gonna be like tier 2, and it's just gonna be I'm taking a little bit more shots with them and no Romanov rather than one or two of them with Romanov.
Yeah, I mean she's not standing out. So she, projection right around 30% ownership. I love Mazzani here. I thought no one would want to play her because she's fucking Gina Mazzani. Looking at the ownership projection, I'm actually a little disappointed as we're seeing it. But like stylistically, I mean, why aren't they just looking at the fact that she always loses? Come on, guys, don't play her.
Because that's all Shayna Young does too.
Yeah, I mean, Shayna Young just loses too. But like I said, Mazzani in those times when she could do what she wants to do, which is rare because almost every UFC level fighter can counter her skill set. But Shanna Young seems to be one that is not equipped to counter it. Mazzani doesn't like to get hit. You could fully rely on her going for takedown after takedown. I'm very comfortable. She's Grant Dawson. She's Lady Dawson. She's Lady Dawson. Her pronouns are she, her, but she could be him, his.
They used to train together until Dawson was like, the gym made me guess.
They were in the same gym?
Yeah.
That's a little factoid I had no idea about. I love it.
James
factoid.
Guys, girls, fighters.
Yeah, and by the way, Gaming Wolf, since you're in Ontario and Ontario's legalized betting, that would be the preferred bet, right? But I actually think Mazzani I would just take her to win because
I think there's value in the money line. She could get a TKO. She could get a submission.
Yeah, she might get a sub over there. She might get a little submission. All right. Last fight on the card. Last fight.
And first fight.
Vogueman is at 45% Mazzani. So clearly this was no shocker. I thought I was coming out. I was going to kill shot Mazzani. Now I have to go. You don't even understand. I can't even think right now because I was like, oh, fuck, I was going to use her as a kill shot. Now I can't use that as a kill shot. I need to come up with a different kill shot. Oh, shit. So now I'm like thinking through as we're going through. I can't. A kill shot is not some popular fighter that everybody loves.
Yeah, I actually hadn't even thought about that yet. So I got to think about it while we do this last one.
Well, let's break down this last one. You might get a kill shot out of this one.
Actually, I think you're right. And it won't be the way you're thinking.
All right. Well, I want to hear that too. I want your strong opinion on this because, listen, I'm just going to announce the fight. It's Tatsuro Tiara taking on Carlos Candelario. Okay? Tatsuro Tiara, UFC debutant, minus 250 favorite. Comeback. plus 200 for Carlos Candelario. Okay. And the fight goes to decision, plus 110. Doesn't go to decision, minus 150. Don't pay this juice, by the way. What the fuck book is that? DraftKings. Shame. That's all way too much juice for that. What is that? 40% juice, Big Marley? 30%? I don't like that spread.
Yeah,
they're working us.
That's what they got to do, right?
I guess they got to make their money.
I'm excited for this fight, like DraftKings wise. I think it's a pretty good DraftKings fight.
Here's the thing, though. You got a really young debuting fighter coming out of the Japanese. Listen, I said this a couple weeks ago about a guy, and he ends up coming in and absolutely destroying, about the Dagestani kid from UK. And he came in and he took care of business, right? But he had no pedigree.
Seems a lot like that fight.
This does remind me of that. Now we got another 21-year-old, 22, and let me show you his record, Big Marley. He's from Okinawa, by the way. You know who trains in Okinawa? Miyagi-Do. Comes from there.
Oh.
Miyagi-Do karate.
So two Karate Kid references and
yeah, it's a little
one show.
Two in one show. Yeah, I recently enjoyed Cobra Kai season 4. Anyway, you don't get 2 Karate Kid references in a 1-hour breakdown anywhere else. That's right. Like and subscribe. Do it now while you're here. Don't forget. All right. Who's he beaten, Big Marley? Ryuka Fukuda, Yoshiro Maeda, 38-18, Kyoka Shimizu, 24-13, a 1-3 Jared Almazan, a 13-14 Takehiro Kohori. In other words, a bunch of fucking nobodies that you've never heard of. There's no contender series fight. There's nothing here where I could be like, oh, he beat Jake Collier in 2017. Like, there's nothing. I don't know. But he's taking care of business real quick. That's what we do know. He goes in against these cans and he gets out of there in the first round. What can you tell me about this kid? What's his style like? Why should I be excited about him? He's fighting an 8-1 guy who seems to be strong, muscled, has a takedown, can get a takedown, but also has no real pedigree to go by. Also beat a bunch of scrubs and lost his contender series fight. I don't know.
One of two. He had 2 contender series fights, both of them real close. But he was taken down 12 times in those 2 contender series fights. And the thing that this Tiara guy is good at is grappling. He's real slick on the ground. Once he gets it there, he can lock up submissions real quick, or he can just kind of dominate on the ground. But his striking looked all right as well. There's not a whole lot of film on him. But from what I saw, like, he looks like he's comfortable on the feet. I'm not going to put him up there on the Makayev level, but I from all I've heard, it's been the dirt inside. Like, let's pick this kid because this kid's only 22. He hasn't fought anybody yet. This other guy's been tested at least already. So it's just a fade on a young guy. But I'd rather look at it from the UFC angle. Like, what are we bringing in this kid who had 2 close contender series fights for, coming off a loss? Do we really want him in the UFC, or do we want this 22-year-old Japanese kid who looks like he could be, in the UFC for the next 10, 15 years? Who do we want to set up with a favorable matchup? I think it's this Tiara kid. So let's give him the guy who's been taken down 12 times in 2 fights, put him right where he wants to be in the fight. I think he could win a striking match against this kid too. So I'm gonna take my kill shot. You're right, with Tiara here, first round submission. But I don't think he wouldn't be a minus 300 favorite if this was a striking match. I think that's where this whatever his name is, Candelario, whatever his name is, I think that's where he would have his best chance, because it looks like this Tiara guy's a little patient on the feet. I think that Candelario would be the higher volume striker of the two, but he just doesn't look dangerous anywhere to me. He can mix in takedowns if he wants as well, but I just don't see that going well for him. I think he would probably get flipped on real quick on the ground, maybe finished or just dominated there. So give me Tiara to go out there and finish this kid. But I'm interested in little bit both sides for like 150 lineups. Hand builds, I'm going to fade this Candelario kid because I've heard too many people on him already. But
Oh, see,
150 lineups, I just can't fade him.
I don't know too many like who's on what, but what. So that's interesting. A lot of people are on Candelario. My
I don't
thought
know
is
that they're on him. It's just a lot of people are like, I don't understand this fight.
I agree with those people
Yeah.
are right. Like I don't get it. He has not proven that he he deserves to be a big favorite in his UFC debut against anyone.
Yeah, that shit kept my Makayev ownership real nice. So I'm hoping it'll happen again. And it will happen again because like there's nothing great about this guy. I think he's the one that goes overlooked in that whole upper range. So like people aren't going to be fading Romanov to go to this guy, but I have at least one lineup doing that.
That's fine, and I like that approach. If you're going to fade Romanov, maybe this is the kid to do it with because he does have fast submission potential. He's done it in every fight, so it's like that's what he does. And he's got an opponent who can be taken down, but he can be taken down too, and his opponent goes for takedowns. I could see Candelario winning this fight. There's a path. There's a path for Tiara winning the fight. So from my point of view, yeah, I mean, Tiara probably the lowest owned and probably not rightfully the lowest owned. I think he probably has more upside than Philly. He probably has more upside, definitely has more upside, or at least probably has more upside than Natan Levy. Definitely has more upside than whoever the female fighter is who's fighting up at this price point.
No, that's Mazzani.
Oh, actually, no. We don't have a 9K female on this card. I thought we had one. Let me go back to that. No, Mazzani I like, but he definitely has more potential than Christoph Jotco.
Oh yeah,
a couple of other spend ups. So, I think I like Mazzani. No, I don't know.
I like them all.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time between him and
Except
Mazzani.
Jotco. I don't like Jotco.
No,
everyone above Jotco I like.
I don't like Philly either, though. I think that's where you and I are differ a little bit.
He's kind of my odd man. I think I have the least amount of him of all of them.
Yeah,
but I have him.
Let me just put this up here as we got to the last fight on the card. Starting at the top, love Romanov, of course, all in for me. You'll have some faded just for ownership purposes. It's Mazzani, Tiara, Levy, then Philly, then maybe Dawson in that, and then Jotco is a full fade. That's how I have it. I don't know. Any difference for you?
Yeah, easy fade for Jotco. Really, it's Jotco and Arlovski are my fades. I'm cool with all the other favorites. Like, I'm cool just mixing them in. Like, if you want to lock in Romanov, then you're just going to be real heavy on that, like, mid-range. But I don't love the mid-range other than the main event, so that's helped me with my $9,600 fade. Because I think I have 10 – I believe I have 10 lineups. 50% have Romanov currently, which – before I went into building lineups, I saw myself having 65, 70% Romanov. So like I could see it going heavier in the Romanov side, but I feel good about my non-Romanov lineups. So it wouldn't shock me to roll out one of those in my single entry.
Gives yourself a chance to get the big W. I do like some of the middling fights. As I mentioned, so looking at the underdogs in general, I'm picking Figuerado to win. I'm picking Collier to win. I like Linnaeus very much. Gordon we talked about. I like Gordon quite a bit. You like Gerald Meershart a little bit. I think Breeden is live. I think there's a lot to like down here, but if you had to rank, so let's say we both, we're fading Sherman, fine. We're fading Young, fine. But you look at the rest of this group here, rank them for me. Give me your top three.
Gordon, Meershart, heavy 1 and 2. And then Connolly, just to test against, just as a fade against a damaged human.
That's fair. Okay, all right, that's fair. I probably have Linnaeus in my mix. I just think if he wins, he's going to knock out Gabe Green, maybe even early. I think Linnaeus has that first 60-second get a finish potential. I think it's probably only a 5 to 10% outcome, but it could definitely happen. I would not full fade that guy.
Yeah, I'd give him a higher ceiling than Connolly, then definitely Connolly. And I mean,
Connolly,
it
I
wouldn't
don't know how
shock
he
me to
scores
see
well.
him outscore every underdog. Like if he did win, but I don't know. I didn't like him at all. I didn't like watching that guy.
I just like his long limbs and knockout power.
Yeah,
I didn't enjoy
his decisions. Really are just what got to me. I just didn't like what I saw after round 1.
if it goes past round 1, you'd want to be live betting that green or whatever. Like he's a first round finisher, or else it's going to be trouble. And he's a weird looking fighter. Like I said, he's just power. He reminds me, like think Kennedy and Chukwu, like a massive skills lacking, but just nice long limbs. And he's just got like the body type that should produce knockouts. Johnny Walker was the right example. Yeah, Gordon up there for me too, but Gordon is a takes over late kind of guy, and Candelario's in my mix. So I'm gonna Breeden too. Breeden also, like, why not? Nathan Levy, you've proven nothing. Tiara, you've proven nothing. So I love your kill shot on Tiara. I don't want to go against it. So I'm going to go with Linnaeus as a kill shot. Not a high exposure kill shot. He's not a guy that I want to go and have 40% exposure to, because I'm not picking him to win. But I think that if he does win, it's going to be by early finish, and it will be the nuts play. So I want to have a lot of exposure to that just in case. And it could have been Candelario, except I'm not going to go up against the great ones kill shot. So I refuse. Plus, then people watching this are like, why the fuck am I watching?
I don't remember what my kill shot was last week, but I think I've been hitting a couple in a row. I had was it Pueles? Was that last weekend? Pueles over Guida, first round submission that I called?
Yes.
No, yeah.
Great kill shot.
Unfortunately, fucking Romanov and Barry killed all my lineups, so I had no chance at the nuts, but somehow I still managed to win like $3 or something like that.
Yeah, coming out ahead on that card because you weren't all in on Romanov. Yeah. And you didn't have a lot of Barry. I mean, you probably went a little heavier on Tyson Pedro.
Yeah.
Don't know what happened there, but I can't remember last week.
It felt like a win. Just
I shut it off as soon as Romanov. I was like, all right.
Me too. I didn't even look at DraftKings. I got the thing afterwards that said your account has been credited. And I was like, oh, let's see the damage. And I went on there. I was like, holy shit, I fucking broke even.
Yeah, always nice. The old backdoor cover. All right, that's going to do it for the kill shot MMA breakdown. Hour 22 minutes. Not too shabby, Big Marley. Good luck this week. We got a big card coming up next weekend. And I think I have an idea. Let's try to bring a special guest on.
Special guest and paywall.
Going behind the paywall.
Unless we get like what 69 likes on this.
Yeah, give us some likes, and we'll keep these in front of the paywall, and we'll bring a special guest that you guys all know and love. What I think we should do is make the UFC pay-per-view ones not the paywall. We'll paywall the smaller cards eventually, unless we can get these likes, and let us know so we keep this going on the free YouTube channel. If you like these breakdowns, you like the jokes, laugh a little bit, have fun. Big Marley showing off the guns. Give us a like. Let us know you're out there, and let us know what your kill shot is in the comments section below. All right, for Big Marley, for Geek, good luck this weekend. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.